Oh, tractorista. Okay. Muro Vanka and Udes, top tier game. Latu boss. This tank, yeah, this is one of the tanks I would definitely recommend if you can afford it, full APCR loadout. Because not only the penetration is, well, let's say if you would be 217 AP, it would be okay. But it's 217 APCR and it tends to bounce a lot off angled armor. So this is definitely one of the tanks I would personally recommend going full APCR if you can afford it, right? Yeah. Obviously, if you can afford it, you can like take some food too, but that depends on everybody. Hello, Viper from the States. How's it going? Oh, tractorista. Well, if you're gonna play on this map, I guess you kind of have like two options. If you want to be more passive, you can go to G1 and snipe in the bush. If you want to be more aggressive, you could try to like work the forest there, right? It's kind of like a little bit risky with a tank like the Udes because it doesn't really have armor. But you could also like stay in the back, you know, and support your team. I guess we're gonna go with like the left side this time. I'm free to play just for fun. Only said if you can afford it, you know. Everybody like takes whatever loadouts they want. This is not exactly something I would recommend, you know. When I said go into G1 bush to snipe, I meant it because like G1 you just spot the targets like very close to you, like E2, E3. So the engagement is like pretty close. You probably don't necessarily want to be sniping with a tank like the Udes because the gun is not exactly the greatest, right? Yeah. So sniping with the Udes, it's not something I would recommend. And you also did a mistake here. You could have easily double bushed and not gotten spotted by the tiger. You like already exposed yourself at the start of the game to like potentially getting shot. Don't forget there's Artie. Artie usually like aims around here, so you already exposed yourself for nothing with a paper tank, right? With a tank like the Udes, you basically gotta be support role. Support role doesn't mean sniping. Support means being close enough to help your teammates, right? So, unless you don't have any alternative, I definitely don't recommend necessarily sniping with the Udes, because the gun is not really the greatest. This is what he should have been done at the start too. I'm surprised the tiger didn't spot you. I see you know how to double bush, so I don't understand why you didn't do it in the first place. You know, you could have gotten a shot. Well, you still got spotted by something else, I suppose. They got to scout around. Wasting a lot of time. Like I said, if Artie was aiming here, wouldn't have been like a nice scenario for you. Okay. One thing I can definitely tell you is you zoom way too much. You basically missed a potential easy shot on the Burask for the sole reason that he zoomed too much in. Ditch the extra zoom you got because it's not making you more accurate. The more you zoom in, you know, the less time you have to like shoot tanks because they travel faster in your little like field of view your zoom mode has, okay? So the more you zoom in, the probably less accurate you're gonna be. So at least for your case in particular, I would definitely recommend to ditch the extra zoom in. You most definitely don't need to like zoom in so much. If you would have used like a regular zoom, or like maybe not zoomed in so much, you could have hit him a lot easier, right? Yeah. Contrary to popular belief, zooming in more doesn't make you more accurate. If anything, it can make you more inaccurate. Because your crosshair is gonna like move faster the more you zoom in. And you're gonna have a smaller window to like shoot tanks the more you're zoomed in. And at this distance, it really doesn't matter. At this distance, because you're not really gonna hit exactly where you're gonna aim at, right? It's just pretty much an approximation where you want the shell to go in. So totally unnecessary zooming in. You know? And you can clearly see how his like mouse just wiggles so much because he zooms in too much. I'm not sure about your mouse sensitivity, but definitely want to be like losing that extra zoom, man, because I don't think it's doing you any good. Yeah. Well, I suppose at this point he's just like farming damage. The way he's farming it though is pretty reckless. He just been like sitting here in the open all this time. He could have easily went here, for example, to just try to like use his gun depression and not expose himself too much. Or he could have stayed like more in the back like he was at the start. So at this point is like not really paying attention to his surroundings. You've gotten himself spotted a lot of times, you know. Pretty reckless with the way like you're like positioning your tank, you know. You see a target, you just like forget everything and try to shoot it. Not really good. Again, with the Centurion, he might have the chance to spot you. If you do that, they got TDs there, you could have been dead like 3 times by now. Because you keep doing the same mistake. Yeah. You could easily double bush, you had plenty of time. Not get spotted. You're being very like reckless, especially with a tank that has no armor. Yeah. Well, at this point, there's nothing much you guys can do because pretty much all the team chose to go on a 2-3 line, so all they can do is just wait until the people in the force dies. As a general, you know, experience, every time my team doesn't go to the force, we lose the game. Because they take the force, then they start driving straight through here in these ridges, and they spot everything and you just die, so as a general rule of thumb, you probably want to be going to the forest, you know. Even if you don't have enough tanks, you can at least go there and support. And if you see that you're about to lose the flank, you can always like relocate, right? Obviously, this kind of goes to like more mobile tanks. But as a general rule of thumb, if you don't go to the forest, you tend to lose the game, you know, because you kind of give up all map control. And at this point, there's nothing they can really do except wait for the enemy tanks to push them in, right? Yeah. Because, like, not just his, all the team's gameplay has been very passive. The ridiculous, unnecessary zoom again. Yeah. Way too much zoom. Way too much. Well, yeah, if there's any tip I can give you, try to, first of all, try not to zoom, only using the scroll wheel of the mouse, right? Because that's the slowest way to do it. In his scenario too, don't use the extra zoom in mode, because it just takes you a lot more time to like zoom in, you know, like you're gonna waste a lot more time pushing your scroll wheel to like get all the max zoom you want. So you waste time doing it. You're gonna be more inaccurate because your like mouse is gonna be more wobbly. You're gonna have a smaller window because your tank, you're gonna see the tank very close, and he's like, instead of like sitting like, you know, like zoom like this, and you can smoothly move your mouse to aim carefully. Instead, you're gonna be like super zoomed in. You're gonna be like this, you know. Your target, your crosshair is gonna go all over the place. Plus, you're gonna lose the dispersion. No, instead of aiming, you're gonna be like losing dispersion because you're gonna be doing this. If you be like zoomed out less, you could like smoothly just, you know, do like a nice one clean sweep with your mouse. So ditch the extra zoom if you can. It's not helpful. It makes it more inaccurate. You lose more time, you know, with your mouse zooming in. And if possible, try to do like I do, put your, well, you got the shift key, I guess, to zoom in, right? Try to leave your zoom, try to like zoom in with your scroll wheel until the first, I don't know how to call it, tunnel vision, until the first zoom where you can't see your tank anymore, right? And just use the keyboard to go in and out, right? That's like the fastest way you can do it. Zoom in with your scroll until you can't see your tank anymore, until the first zoom, and then just use your keyboard to like go in and out, you know? That way you can like move in third person, go to your keyboard, you're zoomed in. It's more than enough to like shoot a tank. If you need to be more accurate, you know, you can like increase a bit more, you know? You only need to like do one move of the mouse forward or like one move of the mouse backwards. You don't need to like fully like, you know, push your scroll wheel all the time, right? Because you lose a lot of time. In case you're wondering how I keep snapshotting and stuff, I don't, you know, I don't do this all the time because it's like wasting a lot of time. It's like inaccurate. It's probably gonna make your mouse wobble a lot. Okay. Use the keyboard to zoom in and out with the first magnification, like Huntek said. Okay, and if you need to just adjust one, you know, don't like every time use your mouse to go into zoom because it's wasting a lot of time. Yeah. And remember the most important thing of all, just because you zoom in more doesn't mean you're more accurate. It's not true at all. Okay, at this point, I think you should have went like in the corner of the map, like where the Emil is, you know, to try to get a couple of like side shots, because the enemy team is kind of pushing. But you know, if you got the Emil at least there, maybe you can like hold them. Yeah, there's a lot of like passive gameplay, but it's not necessarily his fault, because like I said, this is a support tank after all. And he just needs to support his team, right? So it's not entirely up to him. Yeah. No, like people, I think you lose a lot of time aiming using only the scroll wheel. Yeah. Well, at this point, there's not much like strategy into it, you know. It's basically just like farming damage, because yeah, the enemy team is attacking. So at this point, the only thing you guys can do is just work on their mistakes, right? Because the guys don't really have any map control, so the one thing you can do is let them attack first and farm them if possible, yeah. You definitely shouldn't be doing what you're doing here now, because they could easily have tanks there. Like, one thing I've noticed this entire game, you'd like disregarded this whole position all game long. They can have tanks there and they can hurt you. Not once I've seen you like paying attention to that position there, so yeah. What a coincidence, they got a tank there. Not once he paid attention to that spot. Yeah. Again, like, you should be relocating at this point. You see enemy tanks trying to push through the middle. You should be where the Emil is to try to crossfire them, right? The last thing you want to be doing when you lost the forest is let the enemy team take this position, because if they take this, it's game over, right? They take this, they will constantly spot you and box you in, so the last thing you want to be doing is like let them take the spot. So at this point you should be going and like helping the Emil. Go with him in the forest maybe, or like get side shots on these guys, yeah. And definitely not stay in the same spot, getting spotted a million times. Yeah. And what you're doing right now is very risky. Because they potentially, you're zooming in too much again. Not only it's giving me a headache, you're like wasting so much time zooming in, and like tunnel visioning so much. You shouldn't be shooting from here, like you're exposing yourself for nothing. You should be where the Emil is. You're getting side shots, with low risk, instead of being here. Finally, like the enemy team started, like shooting you from that spot. It was about time. Okay. The LC is making a poopy move for some reason. Yeah. I suppose you could like stay and like finish the job and farm him. No. Again, you're like exposing yourself way too much. You're super lucky, man. Like you had all the opportunities this game to like die. You're super lucky the enemy team was not paying attention to you. Because you got spotted in the same place like so many times. Yeah. So many times. You don't seem to like pay attention to your surroundings either whatsoever, right? At this point you shouldn't be like sitting and sniping anymore. At this point you should either like go YOLO the SU or like go YOLO the LC or the Pantera. Take one of them on because they're all split apart, they're all low HP, and they're pushing your teammates, So at this point you shouldn't be like passive anymore. You should actually pick a side and go do something. Yeah. Like you should have YOLO'd the SU the moment you saw them like pushing down. I don't know why you didn't do it. Because of your passiveness, you allowed enemy tanks to go around you and circle you, so now you're in a kind of shitbox, Because of your passiveness. The SU managed to kill the Emil. He gets away, he could have been dead. Yeah. This is a super bad push you're doing right now. Not only you've been like super passive and not attacked anything, now you're doing the worst possible thing you can do. You're pushing an autoloader from exactly the same position another autoloader can shoot you, right? If you really wanted to push this guy, you should have went around through the middle here. Okay? Through the middle. Even that might have sucked, because like the Scorpion would have shot you, but like it's too late now, since you didn't kill either the SU or the ELC or the Pantera to like do anything. You picked the worst possible position to push this this Pantera from. Yeah, you're only lucky the ELC he's shooting you now. You took a lot of unnecessary damage right now. You could have been dead. And not only that, like what? Not only that, you didn't even wait to get unspotted. You instantly start climbing up the hill for some unknown reason, right? ELC was reloading, that's why I pushed Pantera. No, he wasn't reloading, he had plenty of time to reload, because you were passive up there. Not only you did this like bad push, the ELC has like 2 more shots left and he didn't even wait to get unspotted and he started going up the hill. I guess you're very lucky the ELC did not shot you, probably just like he started reloading, so yeah. I guess out of all this, the only thing you can save right now is potentially going and YOLOing the ELC and hoping he's close enough for you to kill him. Or you could try to like, I don't know. Ah, okay, you were lucky, he was close enough for you to kill him. That was a terribly like aimed shot, I don't know why you did that. I don't even know how you hit it. The ELC could have easily clipped you here, you should have like taking your time and like try to aim in front of the ELC to kill him. That was a totally unnecessary snapshot, which you could have easily missed. And died right there, right? So you're very lucky the ELC is pushing you. But also you created the situation that brought you till here, because if you would have been a bit more aggressive when you needed to, you could have avoided all this like situation that you created here. It's not just your fault, obviously, because like the whole team was passive. But yeah, shouldn't have taken like a snapshot like that on the ELC. He was lucky he hit, but he could have easily missed and he would have killed you right there, so. At this point, killing the SU and the Scorpion, I guess, is just a question of like double bushing, right? Not from here though, because he's obviously up the hill. Yeah. Shouldn't have done that. Scorpion could have been up here, he could have killed you. You could have easily, for example, like try to peek this bush, you know? Or like knock over a tree, wait a little bit. Maybe he's gonna blind shot and then peek again, or like this out. Probably knocking over a tree would have been the smartest. You try to go up while the SU, you know, was in a position to spot you before you went up the bush, so now it's pretty poor play. Because the Scorpion could have killed you. Also, you're very lucky the SU missed, yeah. Very reckless with your execution. Yeah. At the moment, again, you don't really know where the Scorpion is gonna be, so popping in this one bush is probably not a good idea. What you want to be doing right now is like trying to like hover over the ridges everywhere to see where you get spotted, to like kind of know where the Scorpion G is gonna be. You most definitely don't want to be popping into one bush that only pretty much covers you from that side, right? Like you disregarded this side, disregarded the back. Scorpion could be anywhere, and you just went in like one position where you could possibly spot him without getting spotted, right? You should have just hovered around the ridge lines with your tank to see where you get spotted, instead of going straight to the bush. Yeah. Luckily for you, he was right there. But he could have just as easily been somewhere else and he could have killed you, so. Yeah. I don't see why you're relocating right now, because Scorpion has like nowhere to go. You should just stay in the same bush and just wait for him. Instead you're going out, the Scorpion could peek out behind the building at any time and kill you. This is totally unnecessary like relocation right now. Ironically, you didn't relocate the entire game. You didn't relocate the entire game when you're doing it when it's like least necessary. So, yeah. This was definitely not a time to like relocate. Not at all. Chief of people. Like the Scorpion G didn't really have like anywhere to go, so like whatever move you would have made, you probably would have caught him, so you should have stayed there. You probably would have spotted him as he was going out, you know? So much zoom in, I'm really surprised you're not missing, you know? I think it like looks worse on the replay than it is in real life, but like this zoom seems like so inaccurate. Yeah. Basically, you were extremely lucky. The enemies, you know, played piss poor. You have to work on your awareness. Well, let's recap, I guess. First of all, Udes, you know, it's a support tank. You haven't really supported anything this game. All you've done the entire game is snipe. So first of all, you're not really utilizing your tank properly, right? All you did was stay in the same position sniping here. Not really like being very helpful. You could have went to the forest, could have helped those guys, not die. You could have relocated on the map, you could have flanked. You chose to like only be passive with your team and not do anything, so pretty much you allowed the enemy team to corner you. Well, your whole team allowed themselves to be cornered by the enemy team, but you are part of it too. So first of all, I think you played way too passive with Udes. Could have easily went in the forest, helped those guys. If you lost the flank, could have relocated, came back to base, you know? Maybe not. Lost the forest, who knows? Second of all, you're not very aware of your surroundings. Like I said, all game long, you disregarded this position entirely. You could have gotten shot by there or by the Artie a million times now. You were just like dancing around here in the middle all game, getting shots, you know? No double bushing, no being careful not to like get spotted, get shot. Very reckless, you know, with the way you're like shooting enemy tanks. And very reckless because you're again shooting without paying attention to who might spot you or who might shoot you. Right? So you played very passive. You're very reckless with your tank, right? Especially with a tank that has no armor. You need to pay more attention where tanks might be and where tanks might shoot you from. Third of all, you did not relocate. Like at the end, well, towards the end, when the ELC yellowed here, the Pantera was pushing, SE was right here. You could have easily pushed the SU and killed them because the Emil was reloading. You could have easily saved your teammate and not like let him get killed. Instead, he did nothing. You just waited there and like let the enemy team push you. Or you could have easily went here and killed the ELC as he was pushing. You did the worst thing of them all. You just sat there, and after, you know, ELC and the SU like flanked you, you went through the middle to clip the Pantera. So like, you need to work on your awareness big time and your decision making. Right? You need to be like, you can't be like this undecided. Should have pushed the SU, should have pushed the ELC. Right? Either of those decisions would have granted you a clear flank, right? Push the SU, that flank was clear. Push the ELC, flank was clear. You could have easily killed the Panther after that from the bushes with no problem. So, because of your passiveness, you allowed yourself to get into this bad spot, right? If you would have been a bit more active from the start, none of this would have happened, right? None of this would have happened. Like, could have easily killed a lot of the tanks before you guys got boxed in here. Haven't seen him like go into the corner there at all, you know, to try to like shoot these guys here. Like, you could also would have went there and like shot the SU. Also, if you would have been there, you could have like shot the ELC as he was pushing.
Hello.
Pretty much like there's no like total lack of initiative from your side, right? I get the fact that the team was passive, but he also played very passive with this tank. If you want to like carry games, you can't just, you know, leave everything to fate, you know. Somebody else is gonna spot him, somebody else is gonna shoot him. And yeah. And at the end of the game, again, your play was very reckless again, right? You disregarded what the enemy tanks were like last spotted on the map. You disregarded the fact that if you push into one bush that's all the way up the hill, you could get spotted from other directions. You were lucky the SU missed. Scorpion G could have killed you easier. So to recap, I guess, you're way too passive in this tank. You're way too passive in this tank. If you see an opening, right, like the ELC that was alone, or the Emil, or the SU, you need to take advantage of it, right? Because it's like an easy flank you can clear. So you need to stop being so passive. You need to like, I don't know, do some decisions to actually push somewhere and not just let the enemy team keep boxing you in, because the last thing you want to do is lose control of the map, right? So stop being so passive with your tank, okay? The last thing you want to do is like let yourself be pushed into a corner. You got to clear the flanks that you can clear, and most definitely be a lot more aware of the surroundings, right? Don't just like blindly go in a bush thinking you're gonna spot somebody. Try to test the field first. Sixth Sense is very good for that, you know. You can just easily like cruise next to the ridge lines. If you get spotted, you know, Sixth Sense pops up, you know where the enemy team might be, you know. There's a position where you can get shot from. Use Sixth Sense. Sixth Sense is not only for knowing when you're spotted. Sixth Sense is also very useful to like find out the location of a tank. Something people don't use at all, right? You peek here, I don't know, you peek here, you get spotted. Okay, where could it be? He's either there or he's on the right side somewhere, right? You can easily test this like with Sixth Sense. And last but not least, definitely ditch your zoom in because I don't think it's doing you any good. Yeah. I think all the zooming you have on your game is making you more inaccurate, and it's making you lose more time zooming in. Yeah. So mainly be less passive, try to act on the situations and adapt, you know. Don't just sit in the same place with your team and hope to just farm them. You need to like take initiative in the games. All right. Okay. Thank you very much for the biddies again, Grim Peaks. Hate this tank line. My brain hurting when I play it. And also coming in with another 50 Bs. Have a great stream. Thank you very much for the support, Grim. Take care. Have a good one. I also missed a G.